Hello and welcome to FtLoC, and as you can see I'm actually on my own. Henry is away recuperating from a busy couple of weeks of shooting on a well-deserved holiday, but we will be seeing bits of him in the episode. Now, first things first, we have a very exciting announcement. You've asked for it and we finally have it. The Carfection for the Love of Cars podcast is now live. In fact, you might actually be listening to that right now. And if you are, hello. If not, go to wherever you get your podcast from and do a search for Carfection for the Love of Cars, any of the above, and you should be able to find it. The podcast will be an audio version of this show, but an extended one with all the bits that we cut out for time added right back in. And there'll be some additional little episodes between episodes to enlighten your Carfection experience and give you just that extra bit of behind the scenes knowledge of how we do things. So every 2 weeks we'll still be here on YouTube with episodes of FtLoC, but slightly more regularly with the For the Love of Cars podcast. You'll be able to stay up to date only in your ears, so give that a listen. And if you like it and you fancy giving it a positive review on iTunes or something like that, that wouldn't go amiss either. Remember to always follow us where we already are on YouTube. Stay subscribed, and if you haven't already, hit the bell icon. It gives you a notification every time we put a new film out, and that's the best way of us getting our content to you. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram. We're doing some great stories live from all the shoots, and some quickest updates of what we're up to are available there. Follow us on Instagram at Carfection Films or on Twitter at Carfection. And our Facebook page is growing and we're adding more and more stuff to that every day. So do a search for Carfection on there as well. Hey, and if you want to give me a follow on any of those platforms, just do a search for Drew Stern. Now, moving on, we're going to gloss over the news this week because there's been so much new stuff added up onto the site, up onto the YouTube page, that I just wanted to get through it as much as possible. For starters, if you're watching this on Saturday, earlier this week, a couple of days ago, there would have been a film out on the Porsche 911 GT3, but specifically Henry, George and Charlie all went out to shoot a special little film on what it's like for that car to be in a manual. This generation, the 991.2 generation of the 911 GT3, was the car that brought back the manual to that car. Having switched to PDK previously, arguably one of the best automatic gearboxes you can get in a car, fans nonetheless pressured Porsche and they have gone back and offered it with a manual. And in this film, Manual Matters, it's an ode to the stick shift, and it's an absolutely stunning film. I don't think I'm going too far to say it's one of the best films we've ever produced on Carfection, and I urge you to have a look as soon as you can. In fact, just to whet your appetite, here's a little clip now.
With a manual, you just feel more intimately connected with the engine. You have to listen to the revs, be aware of how it's revving. It asks more of you, but it also rewards more deeply.
In other news on the channel, a familiar face has made a resurgence on the channel. Those eagle-eyed viewers may have noticed that we published a film with Alex Goy in it. Yes, a year ago he left our channel to go and work for Moto1, and we were very sorry to see him leave, but he's back out in the freelance world now, and we've decided to work with him again because, you know, you guys wanted to see him and we enjoy working with him. The first in a 3-part series where Alex is going over some topics that have been keeping him up at night. He's talking about hypercars. What is a hypercar and why do we actually need them? That video is live on YouTube right now and I recommend that you go and have a look, and here's a little clip from that.
Hypercars and their slightly less advanced supercar siblings tend to be quite expensive. Those who own them have naturally massive reserves of cash to buy and run the things. Those who complain about this enormous cost don't. Yet off they go babbling about how things shouldn't be so expensive.
As you may have noticed on the channel, we have really upped the output recently. We've been doing this series called Carfection Plus. You'll notice it on the thumbnails as a little white plus and an orange triangle in the corner. What those films are the extra little pieces of content that previously we might not have published at all, or may not have thought to shoot in the first place. And because your appetite for the stuff that we're doing is so great and we just want to give you as much as possible, we're finding every opportunity to get some extra content out about the cars that we're covering. In this particular case, the whole team, bar myself, were out in Molsheim, the home of Bugatti, to drive the Chiron. We've already had a previous film on it, but we wanted Henry's input on it and someone like Henry driving the car and and seeing what he has to say about it. But when you go to Molsheim to drive a Bugatti, you get someone to basically babysit you through the day. And most manufacturers don't do this, but the higher end ones, you can imagine they want to make sure that their car's kept to one piece. But it's not a PR person or even just a pro driver that they just hired in. When you go to Bugatti and you drive the car, the person there with you for the day is none other than Le Mans legend and high-speed hero Andy Wallace. Just having him around is a privilege in its own right. So the guys jumped on the opportunity to actually get more of his insight about the car. And frankly, there's probably no one who knows as much about the Chiron as Andy Wallace does, especially when it comes to driving it at absolute top speed. There's an amazing film with Henry and Andy going around the car and looking at some of the greatest details that make the car as special as it is. And you would never imagine that a conversation about the dust cap from a tire would be interesting, but believe me, this film is absolutely fascinating. It's 17 minutes of absolute gold, and here's a small taster.
4 exhausts are here, but there are actually another 2 exhausts.
There's another 2 hiding underneath, blowing the diffuser, as you can probably just about see underneath. I'm sure you understand anyway, and everybody watching is going to understand too, but downforce isn't some sort of mythical thing that you just stick on the top of the car. It acts over the car, and it acts relative to the front and the rear axle. So if you can have all the downforce of the world, but if it's all on the front axle, it's absolutely undrivable.
Now, a couple of weeks prior to that, George, Charlie and myself, we went out to the Isle of Wight, which, if you're unaware, is a largish island off the south coast of England, to film a special Mclaren. McLaren sometimes come with special colour editions of their cars, and we wouldn't normally jump on that as a piece of content. But this particular car took my fancy. The colour was Murawai White, and the history behind that name and the colour was quite interesting. And if you want to know exactly what Murawai White represents, and indeed what Murawai is, and for those of you who are Antipodean, you may actually already know, but the film will go into that in a lot of detail. But there's one part of it that people have asked me a lot, and that is why we had the top down when clearly it was raining throughout the entire shoot. And it stands to reason that a convertible is nice when the sun's out and you can feel the warmth of the air rushing through your hair as you drive along a lovely road. Why you would do it when it's absolutely pissing it down with rain seems beyond some people. Number one, I don't get to drive convertibles all the time, so as soon as I get one, I want to put the top down. That's without a doubt. Secondly, we were also shooting a feature on why convertible supercars are often called spiders, or convertible sports cars in general. Like Ferrari use it, McLaren use it, Audi use it, sometimes with an I, sometimes with a Y. And we actually made that into its own film, which hopefully you've already seen up on site. But we had to drive with the top down to demonstrate that it was a convertible, and then we just stuck with it. But pro tip, if you're driving a convertible supercar, if you keep your foot down, you don't actually get wet. But that's the reason for having the top down in that. The film went out, and I'm very proud of it. The guys have done a really good job, and it's also available in 4K. So for those of you who enjoy watching our content at the highest possible resolution you can muster, that's our first full 4K film, I believe, and we're going to be doing more of them. So again, stay subscribed to the channel, hit the bell icon, and you'll get to enjoy that as much as possible. If you get to watch any of our content in 4K on like a big 4K TV in your front room, please let us know how that is. We don't have any 4K TVs around. We've got some small monitors, but I'm really interested to see whether it makes a big difference. And the guys put in so much effort into the films, it would be really worth it to know if it actually makes a difference when we put these films out in 4K. Another shoot that I've been out on recently was at the Nurburgring, tantalizingly close to the Nurburgring, which to date I've never driven, but that's a story for another day. By the Nurburgring, they have the Aston Martin AMR Centre. AMR is the new performance-orientated sub-brand that Aston Martin have. Think of it like AMG2 Mercedes or M2 BMW. They're taking all of their models and adding an AMR version to the lineup, and they've done so with the V12 version of the DB11. So to drive that, I flew out to Germany with one of our freelancers to film the DB11 AMR on those roads. And I'd never been to Nürburgring. I'd never been that close to the ring, but I'm one of those people who watches Nürburgring lap videos religiously, the crash compilations, the people who stand on YouTube Corner on tourist fart days filming people going completely wrong. I'm addicted to watching those, and I've spent years and years watching these videos, playing the track on video games, and yet never have gone. Something I want to rectify this year. But there was something about being in that area. If you've ever been there, you'll probably know this already, especially if there's a tourist fart day going on. There's a buzz in the air. There's like an electricity around that just makes it feel so exciting to be there. And, we're driving an Aston Martin, a really nice car, but there's amazing cars everywhere. While we were filming, we just drove down just a random bit of road around the perimeter of the Nurburgring Nordschleife, and in a lay-by, unattended, parked up, was a Ferrari F40, which just blew my mind to have that car right there. So we immediately pulled in, took some photos, and the owner walked up. It was a lovely chap, and he was talking to us about our car. We were talking to him about his. It was an amazing place to be, and it has forced me to put the Nürburgring on my to-do list for this summer, because there's no way I can get to the end of the year and not have driven it. Frankly, the fact that it's still open is nothing short of a miracle. It is a dangerous place to be, but hopefully the locals and the car community as a whole and the car industry can do what it can to keep that place open and free enough for people to go on and enjoy it in their cars. And I cannot wait to get there. The film on the DB11 AMR is a good one. Go and check it out. The DB11 AMR is now the only version of the V12 DB11 you can get, which seems a bit odd. They've only launched that car about 2 years ago. I was on the launch in Italy for that. And the AMR version is its replacement. So it's not like you can choose between one or the other. If you want a V12 DB11, you're getting the AMR version from now on. In addition to that, we have 2 films about the legend that is Bernd Schneider. This DTM hero was at an event that Henry was at recently, and Henry sat down and, actually stood up and had a conversation with him, talking about his history in racing and what it means to have had quite the volume of accolades that he has behind him. And then in a separate film, he went for a hot lap of Silverstone, and with Bernd driving. Henry's a fast driver. Extremely accomplished driver, brilliant guy behind the wheel. Bernd Schneider is several tiers above that. And if you need any kind of evidence to show you how intense the experience was for Henry, I encourage you to watch that video and maybe watch it again, but just look at Henry's face. I have never seen a grown man grimace quite like that. It is the combination of sheer terror and the biggest smile mushed together in some kind of weird contortion of human expression, and it is delightful. It is a pleasure to watch. Not just from watching someone drive a car so well, so easily, but to see someone who is an accomplished driver himself look so happy and uncomfortable at the same time. It's quite hilarious. Those are all available on the channel right now. Head over to youtube.com/Carfection if you're listening to this on the podcast, or have a look at our channel right now if you're watching this on YouTube, and dig those out. They are well worth an afternoon of your time to go through them. We've had some amazing content in the month of May just past, so I really hope that you can enjoy it as much as we've enjoyed making it. But of course, the Carfection train has to keep on rolling, and we've been out filming some really interesting content. Well, as we do always. George and I have just got back from filming the new Mercedes A-Class. It's not exactly a car we'd normally cover on Carfection, but we'd been promised that the interior of that car had lifted quite a few things from its bigger brother, the S-Class. So the end result is something that's quite luxurious. But to get there, and to help us film the A-Class, we borrowed an X-Class, so that we've got both ends of the alphabet kind of bookmark there from the Mercedes point of view. And it was nice to be behind the wheel of a pickup truck again. Obviously the X-Class is bigger than most cars on the road as it is, a full-size pickup truck with a double cab. And it was quite interesting to see how other drivers on the road react to you driving that. People get out of your way when you're driving a big black pickup truck at them. Safely and within the speed limit, but still up behind them, they move out of your way pretty quickly. And considering when we had to drive all the way from London out to the Cotswolds and back again to film the A-Class, we needed a car that was going to be able to accommodate all of our equipment and ourselves comfortably. And as a place to be for quite a few hours, it was nice. Some people would complain that under the skin it's no more than a Nissan Navara. And they have a point, because that is exactly what the Mercedes X-Class is. But you're getting a Mercedes out of it, so there's a slightly more premium feel about it. we would have normally taken our long-termer, the Land Rover Discovery Sport. But as Henry's on holiday, he's taking that car with him. So we're going to expect a full update on what he's been up to with that car when he gets back in a couple of weeks. There are some other great films coming up to the channel. None the least is the Dawn feature we touched on the last episode of FtLoC. I've seen some shots from it. It's in full production. We'll be able to see the Rolls-Royce Dawn shot under an absolutely stunning starry sky, and the footage looks absolutely phenomenal. Again, something a little bit different on Carfection. We're trying to make sure that we give you the widest variety of content. And if the shots I've seen are anything to go by, that piece is going to be absolutely brilliant. In a slightly more traditional track-based bent, we have our film with Henry driving the Atom 3.5R coming. That car absolutely screams. There were some technical issues with the shoot. I don't mind sharing with you, because you viewers of FtLoC, especially if you've made it this far into the episode, you are our most dedicated fans, and I hope you do know that, and we do appreciate it. We had some technical issues on that, and we lost some of the sound from that recording, so we had to back it up with a studio shoot. But what that did was give Henry the opportunity to really reflect on the car. And if you've ever wanted to know exactly what it's like to drive an aerial Atom, in particular one of the hotter Atoms, this one, the 3.5R, then that is the film to watch. In fact, you could watch that film and bluff your way through a conversation pretending that you had driven it. Not that I'm saying that you should or that I endorse that kind of behavior, but if you ever wanted to bluff your way through a conversation about you driving an aerial Atom, this is the film to watch. It will be coming to the channel next week. In addition, you're watching this on the Saturday, and we're filming this on Thursday, but in between we will be filming a brand new Mclaren in the studio. I don't have any information on it right now. I don't know what it looks like. I don't know any of the stats, and we probably wouldn't be able to share with you on Saturday yet either. But by the time you see this, we will have in the cam footage of the latest brand new, never seen before McLaren that we'll be able to share with you. Now, there's a lot of speculation about what it could be. You have the Sports Series, the Super Series, and the Ultimate Series. We think it's possibly in the Super Series, but who knows? It will be something interesting. It will be something fast. And knowing McLaren, the design will be quite divisive. So hopefully pretty soon, and by the next time we have FtLoC, we'll be able to talk about that in more length. But keep your eye on the channel, for that will be going up as soon as we possibly can share it with you. We also got the opportunity to go and film a more up-close feature with the Brabham BT62. We covered the launch event a couple of weeks ago, which you can find on the channel, but we have a more in-depth studio-based feature coming up with that car, and an interview with David Brabham, son of Jack Brabham and the managing director of the new Brabham Automotive Company. It's this track-only £1 million supercar. It's got a naturally aspirated V8. I mean, how many things these days have a naturally aspirated V8, especially something that's that track-focused? It's not a racing car, it's not FIA regulated for any particular series, it's not even homologated for road use anywhere. This is just built to go fast on the track. And we had a delve under the skin and even a sit inside to see exactly what it's like. And we got to turn the engine over, so I finally heard it in person, and it is impressive. Keep your eye on the channel for content coming out about that very, very soon. The exciting thing for us coming up is Le Mans. It will be next weekend. We'll be heading out, George and myself, with BMW. We're going to be taking a look at the new 8 Series before watching the M8 GTE race in that series. It's going to be, I haven't been in 2 years. I'm really, really looking forward to it. I always like watching the LMP1, and this year it seems right wide open for Toyota. There's no more Porsche, there's no more Audi. A lot of the smaller teams are still in there, but Toyota now stand a really, really good chance of winning. I was there 2 years ago when the Toyota car broke down on the line, like minutes before the end of the race while they had been leading, and that was a huge tragedy, and we thought that they absolutely deserved the win that year, and maybe they'll get it this year. But there's going to be plenty going on, and we'll be shooting a bunch of Carfection Plus features from the race itself, as well as catching up with Mike Channel, who we've been following on his racing series with Ginetta. He bought himself a Ginetta G40 and has been taking part in a full racing series, and we've been making a documentary series following him. In fact, this Saturday, hopefully the day that you're watching this, he'll be racing at Silverstone. He'll be out there, and Ginetta will be at Le Mans because they'll be racing an LMP1 as well, which is fantastic to have the small British company that does these little sports cars actually run an LMP1 car at Le Mans. It's going to be a fantastic story. Hopefully they'll do well, and we'll be there to witness it. But that's it. There's been a A packed episode of stuff to share with you from the last couple of weeks on Carfection, and I encourage you to make sure that you're subscribed to the YouTube channel and hit that bell icon. I can't stress that enough. It puts our videos in your inbox as soon as they come out, and it will help you stay up to date with all the amazing stuff that we're doing. Follow us on Instagram at Carfection Films and on Twitter at Carfection, and you can find me on both at Drew Stern. But for now, thank you so much for watching. Go and find the podcast if you're watching this on YouTube, and we will see you again very soon.